Hi there, this is David, and I have some exciting news for y'all today about Square-Enix and kind of their shift in focus that they want to go on. I thought that this was actually a pretty big news story and I couldn't wait for the weekend, so I'm here for you with some breaking news. They're basically saying that they want to switch their strategy entirely because what they did last year didn't work, and we're going to get into that. They're saying that they want to release more higher quality games starting with Final Fantasy 16. We already know that Square got a brand new CEO because the last guy, he was kind of into NFTs, and he also said like, hey, if you play games just to have fun, you're part of the problem. So he had some kind of weird messaging. We also know that Square Enix's release calendar at the end of last year was also kind of weird. So the new guy's stepping in, and he's going to be making some changes. So the first release of this year was Forspoken, and we all know that that got a massive marketing blitz for a game that a lot of people really didn't like. I did, but a lot of people didn't. Then a game that I feel like more people should like, Octopath Traveler 2, you didn't hear a peep about. Then, again, last year, they just dropped a shit ton of titles at the very end of the year for, no seeming reason at all. It was like a title, then a week would go by, and there'd be a new title, then a week would go by, and then it'd be a new title. It was kind of ridiculous. So, they are doing a new strategy, and they're saying that they want to focus on more major releases with higher quality and more global appeal. Well, that seems pretty obvious to me, but we also have to look at the other side of the coin there. Are they going to only release higher quality games at the expense of other lower budget games? Lower budget games such as Star Ocean 6, or Harvestella, or God forbid something like Dragon Quest Treasures, or maybe even Bravely Default. Are those going to get pushed to the wayside so we have more flash in the pan, great graphics, hair physics, Final Fantasy 16s? Or what? We don't know. So it says that they do have some pretty mammoth releases in production, such as Final Fantasy 16 coming out next month, the Final Fantasy 7 Remake Rebirth, and Kingdom Hearts 4 is in development, as well as we know that the Dragon Quest 3 remake is out there, as well as the Dragon Quest 12. Those are coming up. But while we're here, I just wanted to take a look at what happened with Square Enix last year. So I am here on Wikipedia, and I just kind of want to go over the releases that they put out last year in 2012. First of all, we had those Voice of Cards games. Those games were weird. Those were very low budget, and I'm sure that that's going to be one that is on the chopping block that they are just going to nix and get rid of. Then there was Babylon's Fall. I can't even say it with a straight face, which was like the worst game ever, and they put that out and it bombed, and thank God it did. Then going into HD 2D stuff, they got Triangle Strategy, and that was fantastic. I know that they're kind of tooling around with more HD 2D stuff, so that was kind of experimental with them, and I think that it did great. Then, for every one step forward, you have two steps back because you have Chocobo GP, which is a racing game that, it's so niche of the niche of the niche, and then they took everything that they originally had in the game and they locked it behind a paywall because they're ridiculous. Then they came out with Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. I'm betting that this is also on the chopping block, that there will not be, a Final Fantasy Origin 2. That's just probably done. There's some remakes though, like Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers Edition, that can appeal to a pretty wide audience, but something like the Centennial Case, a Tsushima story? I don't even know what that is. What in the world is that? Then there's Live Alive. That's a pretty niche remake as well, but again, tooling with HD 2D, so they're working on that. Voice of Cards, gotta have another one of those really cheap games in there, but I'm sure that's gone. Then they ported this mobile craptastic game, Various Daylife. For whatever reason, they were like, oh, there must be demand for a really shitty mobile game on consoles. Let's port that one over. Psh, okay. Yeah, again, what are they thinking? Dealfield Chronicle, that's a pretty neat real-time strategy game, and that one came out, this begins like our end of the year deluge. September 22nd, we had Dealfield Chronicle. September 29th, 7 days later, we have Valkyrie Elysium. Cheap cash grab. That could have sold like hotcakes, but they really cheaped out. Less than a month later, boom, Star Ocean the Divine Force. Then 7 days later, they come out with Harvestella. Then 7 days later, they come out with Tactics Ogre Reborn. Then less than a month later, they come out with Dragon Quest Treasures. Then 4 days after that, they come out with Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Like, they just boom. All these games really should have been staggered throughout the course of their year, or maybe even delayed to give these other games like a chance to breathe. And I'm sure that you can see right here this kind of mismanagement going on with these really good, nice titles just coming out at such odd times, like so close to one another, and I'm sure they each cannibalized each other in sales, and that's another reason why they're kind of struggling, and why they're pivoting, and why they're turning. But again, you have to wonder that with this turn, what else is going to be sacrificed? We're not going to see voice of cards, I'm sure. We're not going to see mobile, cheap bullshit ported on over to consoles either, like various Day Life, thank God. But will we get another Dealfield Chronicle? Will we get another Star Ocean Divine Force? Or another Harvestella? Are they going to keep on looking back into their SNES catalog and making more HD 2D remakes like they do with Live Alive? Are they going to be going back and maybe remastering older games like they did with Chrono Cross or Legend of Mana? We don't know, because do those have that broad appeal? Are those really AAA games? Or are they really only going to be focusing on all Final Fantasy, all Kingdom Hearts, all the time? And if that's the case, that's really a shame, because some of these smaller games are the games that I like. The Brave the Defaults of the world, the Harvestellas of the world, the experimental games of the world, the Dealfield Chronicles. Those are some of the games that I like, and sometimes I like them more than, the real big boys out there. So this, to me, it's just kind of breaking news. It is a big deal because Square Enix is a big deal in the RPG world, and they're one of my favorite companies out there. So I just think that I need to really focus in and laser beam on this story and really just think about what the implications of this are. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, and as always, have a good day.